Okay, so we're going to look at factoring and simplifying trigonometric expressions, and sometimes these get grouped in as proofing or serve as a precursor of proofing. So we have this equation here, which is 3 secant x plus 6 secant x times sine x divided by 4 sine squared x minus 1. And they want us to simplify and factor this. So what I have circled over here is I have a quadratic form, and I can use the difference of squares in order to get a simplified version of this formula. We can think about this as 4 sine squared x minus 1 squared. And if you remember the difference of squares formula, we have a squared minus b squared. Just give me a second, I'm just going to write this here. Is equal to a plus b multiplied by a minus b. And so we can think of a as 4 sine x, and we can think of b as 1. And so if we take the root of a, right, of 4 sine squared x, that would leave us with 2x, or 2 sine x. And then the b would be plus 1. And then the other part of the answer here would be 2x minus 1. And again, remember that our x is going to resemble our sine x, or our sine function. And so we rewrite this function here as 3 secant x plus 6 secant x times sine x. And instead of writing 2x plus 1, we're going to write 2 sine x plus 1 multiplied by 2 sine x minus 1. And at least the denominator is factored. Now let's look at the numerator portion of this. We see that secant x is common to both of the terms. So we're going to pull out 3 secant x. And that would cross out the first 3 secant x in the formula. Just write this a little better here. Sorry, guys. And so 3 secant x divided by 3 secant x would leave us with a value of 1. And then the secant x in the second term would be removed, but 6 divided by 3 would be 2, and we're left with 2 sine x. And then, of course, this would be divided by 2 sine x plus 1 multiplied by 2 sine x minus 1. Now we look for any like terms that we could cross out, and we could see that 2 sine x plus 1 and 1 plus 2 sine x are the same thing, so we can cross those out. And then we're left with 3 secant x divided by 2 sine x minus 1. And this is fully factored and simplified, and I don't think this can be broken down any further.